is The Beat, and this is Herschel 36 on The Beat. Now, I know a lot of people are waiting to find out who won the 4 tickets to Mother Goose at Salon Varieties, and that draw is coming up. They're still counting all the entries. Can you believe it? You probably can't. I can't, but I can now. Now, guess what? Janet Yellen. Janet Yellen, if you don't know who she is, she's quite a big wig in the financial industry, and she's making an announcement this evening regarding the base rate over in the US. Now, you may think the base rate means nothing to you, but I can tell you it does. Has a major effect on the global markets, and it's going to be huge. So we will be pulling the names out of the hats for the 4 tickets to Mother Goose Salon Varieties in about 10 minutes. Okay, now the answer, because all the lines are shut, was only Fools and Horses. There were over 200 entries in under, I don't know, a few hours time, whatever. Absolutely mayhem in this office, and here we are. Okay, here we are. So before we get on to that point, I'd like to introduce a gentleman called Andy Hoffman from Miles Franklin. Miles Franklin sell gold and silver. He's based over in the USA. Andy, can you hear me?
Yeah, there's a lot of backdrop to what's going on today. You know, you're seeing commodity prices plunge again, and economic data is terrible, and currencies are falling apart even this morning. So, you know, I mean, these are the type of situations where any other time the Fed would be lowering rates. So we're trying to figure out what on earth would cause them, other than suicidal thoughts, to raise them.
So, Andy, you know, let me just put the picture, paint a picture here for you on the south coast of Spain. Okay, the economy is actually feeling very vibrant. Okay, the housing market in London is booming. Okay, rentals, the house prices, they are rocketing, absolutely rocketing. So it gives the impression that there's a lot of money out there. The housing market on the south coast of Spain, even though that's oversaturated with properties, it's picking up. I can tell you, I know people who are selling houses. My landlady she's in that business, and her business is booming, right? So I want to go down that route because, you know, you're going to have a different opinion to me, that's for sure. But just tell me, right, what is money in your opinion?
Well, money is something that stores value and you know, maintains its value over time, which the euro certainly doesn't. And we have the same issue over here. We've had, you know, they print money. The money goes to the hands of the 1%, the people who are buying properties on the south coast of Spain. Or who are buying stocks, you know. But you know, the rest of the economy, the Spanish economy, is you know, indisputably doing terrible. The fact that there are housing bubbles doesn't mean that the economy is doing well. I mean, we have the biggest, our stock price on the Dow, which is supported by the government as well as, you know, the money printing. It's the highest valuation ever of the Dow. In Venezuela, it's the best performing stock market on the planet, even though they're in a hyperinflation. So, you know, there's a difference between financial markets, which high-end real estate are, and, you know, we have the same thing also. No one's buying houses, but rents are soaring.
That's
so
right.
The 1% bought up all the houses.
So you've got $10 in your hand, I've got €10. Okay, is that money or is that currency?
Well, I mean, you know, the euros serve. Look, there's a definition of money. It has multiple parts of it. It has to be a means of exchange. It has to be what's the word? Where
fungible, I do believe.
All units are the same. But it also has to be scarce in value, and it has to be a storage of value. So yes, the euro has aspects of it which are monetary.
Yep.
But the most important part, the preservation of value over time. I mean, the euro is down to its lowest level since coming out.
Okay, so if I had $1 million in, say, 1950, and I had $1 million worth of gold in 1950, which would be more valuable now? How would that work out?
Well, of course, the price of gold was fixed in 1950, so it's a little different, but the purchasing power of gold will certainly be higher. I mean, it was fixed at $35 an ounce, and today it's even even with the manipulation, it's 1,070 in the U.S. and it's 970 euros. Whereas the purchasing power of a dollar or from 1950, it's probably lost 70% of its value.
Okay, so just
how much was the gallon of gas for you in Europe in 1950?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just to give some people some credibility about who you are, just give us a little bit of introduction, your background, because you were a stock trader. You're now marketing director of Miles Franklin. Just give us some credibility in the background of this conversation that's taking place now.
And by the way, are we back on the air?
We're back on the air, buddy.
Ah, good. Okay, because Money is a very good song. I just didn't realize that we were done. Okay, well look. I live in Denver now. I'm from New York, though. I grew up there. I worked on Wall Street for 20 years almost. I was a sell-side analyst covering the energy sector. I was a buy-side analyst. I was a trader, all that stuff. And, I moved my personal net worth largely into precious metals in 2002. And in 2006, I started working in the mining industry. And in 2011, meaning the last 4 years, I've been the marketing director of Miles Franklin. It's one of the largest bullion dealers in the country. And I've been writing a blog. I write a free daily blog and free podcasts like this one every day. And you can go to milesfranklin.com and get them. Okay,
so you know what you're talking about. I mean, I came across you because you are very much a leading figure in the alternative media. And your key areas about the financial markets, about what we can expect to happen in the coming months. But when I read the local press here, and when I go back to London, because I bounce between the two, okay, it's all about the fact that we're in recovery. We're about to go into full-blown recovery, whether I'm in London or whether I'm in Madrid or in Malaga, right? And so what is really going on from your perspective?
Well, recovery is the same word that the Fed has been using for the last, 5 or 6 years. But recovery is a very ambiguous term. It's a great propaganda term because, yes, theoretically, if you're better off than the worst possible scenario, you can say that you're recovering. But, the fact is, you're talking about the Spanish real estate market, which I don't live in Europe, but I can assure you what's going on in the rest of the Spain is not the same as in the high-end south coast of Spain. I'm just looking at the Spanish real estate index. It peaked out in 2007 at 2,200. Today, it's 1,500, and its bottom was like 1,450. So yes, it is recovering somewhat, but from a huge drop. Just like the U.S. economy, in many cases, metrics are improved. They've recovered. Some of them are manipulated. Our unemployment rate has fallen from 9% down to 5%. The problem is it's a fraudulent rate. The real unemployment rate is about 30%. If you include the people out of the labor force, the people who are underemployed. I mean, they now count, I kid you not, if you had a 40-hour per week engineering job paying $100,000 a year, and you now have 4 5-hour per week jobs at Walmart and McDonald's, paying a total of $15,000 a year. They will now count that as a net gain of 3 jobs in the economy. So again, a lot of the things that are so-called recovering aren't recovering at all. And in the big picture, most things are not only worse, they're worse than in 2008. In fact, in dollar terms, meaning if you translate all the earnings of the world, such as the euro, which back in 2008 was much higher than it was today. The global GDP in dollar terms is having its worst year since 1965.
Okay, so what does GDP mean? Just to anyone listening, what does GDP mean? Again,
it's a manipulated number, but it means gross domestic product, which theoretically means for each country the output of their economies. The problem is, for one, that these numbers are adjusted by the government however they wish to make it look better. Lately, in Europe and U.S., they've been adding in a whole bunch of things that aren't productive. And the biggest parts of, for instance, the U.S. GDP are healthcare spending, such as spending for Obamacare, which is not productive, and government spending. So if our government decides we're going to go bomb Syria, and the government prints some money and gives it to Lockheed Martin and says build bombs, those bombs count as GDP. And on top of that, the GDP is then what they call deflated. They say, oh, okay, there's a nominal number, but we also try to take out the impact of inflation. to make it look more normalized over time. The problem is that the inflation numbers are estimated. So again, it's a measure of global output. The problem is that A, it's manipulated and it's using faulty numbers, and B, even so, it's at its worst level since 1965. Again, recovering. Well, the commodity index, the CRB commodity index, which measures a basket of commodities from oil to agricultural products to lead, cotton, zinc, you name it, it's at a 40-year low today, which is saying a lot, since 40 years ago is when the world went off of the gold standard and started printing money. So with all of that inflation and all of the technology that's come into the commodity sector, we're still at a 40-year low, going down every day. In fact,
so if we're plummeting, right? If what you're saying is true, why on earth are we reading in the papers that we are in a full-blown recovery?
Well, again, who's running the papers? It's,
that's a very good point.
1%. The people that own the papers are the same people that run the government and the banks, and they have a vested interest in saying that. And again, recovery doesn't really mean much. The unemployment rate in Spain, from the way I've seen it, is near its all-time highs. So how is that a recovery? Just like the unemployment rate, the real unemployment rate here is about at its all-time highs. So it's just a term that comes out, a propaganda term everywhere, because, why would a central bank who's trying to maintain its credibility say otherwise? Why would Wall Street or the city in Europe, who's trying to get you to buy stocks, say otherwise?
That's right.
So the average, look, there's a reason why Catalonia is trying to secede from Spain. They're trying to get away from the government policies that have destroyed its economy. And it's the same reason why you're having political and geopolitical tensions around the world. People are losing money. The migrancy crisis in Europe is because there's not a recovery anywhere. People are fleeing and trying to find some place where they can find a job.
So is it, I'm looking at my situation, right? Because when I talk about money, I look at my situation. I've got a property in London. It's renting out with £1,800 a month. I can get for it pounds. Okay, that's quite a high figure. It's worth £650,000, and it's going up all the time. Is that a recovery or is that inflation?
Well, that's an asset bubble. Again, there's a big difference. Yeah, like I said, the Dow Jones propaganda average, as I call it, is trading at an all-time high valuation right now. The Venezuelan stock market is at an all-time high. So the fact that you have asset bubbles, which are inflated by, the ECB is at negative interest rates. They're basically paying the banks to take the money and put it into financial markets, which on top of that, they support. We have a group in the United States called the Working Group on Capital Markets, whose job is to support the market. And I'm sure there's plenty of that going on in Europe too, particularly the most important averages, like the Spanish Milan Index or the DAX in Germany.
Yep.
But, the average stock market around the world is falling apart, and all economies are falling. I doubt there's anyone listening, if your show is in Spain or you have listeners in France or Italy, who can look up and say, oh yeah, the economy is recovering. France is right next door to Spain. France has an all-time high of unemployment. All-time high. We're probably going back to like the 1800s.
Okay, that may be true, right, Andy? Andy, that may be true. But I can tell you, there's a lot of cars on that road. There are a lot of people eating in restaurants. The supermarkets and the shopping centres are packed with people. The cinemas are busy. People are spending money. Now, this is what I don't fully understand. Okay, there seems to be a lot of expendable cash out there, but in Spain, it's for the expat community, and the local Spanish people are quite tight for cash. Okay, and then in London again, it's the leading corporate figures who've got money to spend, whilst the Londoners are being tempted to sell their property and move out of the capital.
If you're an American going to Europe, that's great because you have much more purchasing power. And over here, we have record car sales as well. The problem is we also have record inventories, record subprime financing, record lease financing, and pretty much record everything that shows that the car sales, just like the home sales back at the peak of the market in 2006 and 7, are fabricated out of nothing. And by the way, they're also based on having zero or extremely low-cost financing, which is why it's so comical that the Fed would even consider raising rates.
So do you think Janet Yellen's going to raise the rates this evening? Because people, if you are not aware, at 8:30 Central European time, Janet Yellen is going to go on camera and announce to the world whether they're going to raise the rate by 25 basis points. That has a knock-on effect to the rest of the world. Is that right or wrong, Andy?
Yeah, actually, I think it's at 8 o'clock, meaning it's at 2 o'clock Eastern. She has a press conference at 8:30, but the actual announcement is a half an hour before that.
Okay.
And yes, it most certainly has an effect on the world. Now, the thing is, like the ECB, which went to zero, years ago, back at the time of the financial crisis, the Fed has been there for 7 years, and they haven't had a rate hike of any kind in 10 years. Now, they've been saying all along that we are dependent on the economy, and that's why they keep saying we're recovering, but 3 years after they started saying recovering, they still haven't raised interest rates. Well, they have, in my view, they have reached the end of their credibility rope.
That's right.
Because they've been saying for so long that there's a recovery and that they're going to tighten rates because of this recovery, that they've gotten to the point where if they don't do it at some point, and now this is the 1 year anniversary, by the way, of when Janet Yellen first said, yeah, we're getting ready to raise rates. She had said in December they were going to raise them in March, and here we are in the next December.
That's right.
I think that they have said to themselves, we have to. I mean, it's a quarter point. Don't get...
Andy, we're coming to the end of this little section. We're coming into the last 20 seconds.
I think she will do it, yes, but I think
she will as well. But people, don't go anywhere. We're going to have a little break of the adverts, and then straight after the adverts, we're going to be announcing who it is who's won the 4 tickets to Mother Goose at the Salon Varieties in Fengarola. So don't go anywhere. That's a very exciting opportunity for some lucky listener on The Beat. Over.
The Beat. It's a great station. I listen all day. I can't be without you, baby. Yeah, it just makes you want to dance. This is The Beat. Ooh, The Beat.
Well, here we go. They have pulled a name out of the hat. Are you ready? It's number 3, 2, 1. Glenn, you are the winner of the 4 tickets to Mother Goose. Will be in contact with you tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. Okay, we are back in. Now let me just draw Mr. Andy Hoffman back into this conversation. Andy, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, good man. Thank you. Right. So people, Andy Hoffman, Miles Franklin. Andy has global expertise of the financial markets. And if you are not aware, at 8 o'clock tonight, CET, Janet Yellen is making an announcement regarding the base rate. So, Andy, what are you seeing around the world? Oil prices are coming down at the moment. Gold's coming down. Silver's coming down. I think, are they pumping enough oil which will allow them to eventually go to war?
Well, those products that you just picked are down for 2 different reasons. And in gold and silver's case, it's due 100% to the same rigging of the market that holds the stock market up. And it's a fact. It's a fact. It's not opinion that global demand for gold and silver will hit all-time highs this year, surpassing last year's all-time highs, while supply is falling and inventories are vanishing. The opposite is true for oil and pretty much every other commodity out there, where you're seeing exploding supply and plummeting demand and the outlook for further production increases. In oil's particular case, all of the financing, this is a perfect example of what the Feds and the ECBs, all that easy money does. It gets into the hand of the bankers, who then lend it out, this low cost money, to speculative ventures, such as, for instance, the high-cost oil producers here in the United States called the shale producers, which have flooded the market with supply and have a lot more to flood the market with, which they're going to do, just like Saudi Arabia is, to get the cash they need to avert bankruptcy. So the price of oil can theoretically go a lot lower, and I mean a lot lower. And in fact, just today, I don't know if you'd say that's good for, it's certainly good for consumers in Europe, but just today, U.S. Congress lifted a 40-year ban on U.S. exports of crude oil. The reason being there's not enough demand in the United States right now, so they need to find somewhere else. So they are flooding the world with oil at the same time that OPEC just announced that they are going to flood the world with oil, which is why the Brent crude price, which is what your oil prices and gasoline prices are based on, just plunged today, even to the level of the U.S. prices, which are typically lower. So again, you're going to see some major deflation in the commodity world, but it's going to be offset by the money printing of the ECB, the Bank of England, the Bank of Switzerland, which is going to cause the cost of a lot of the other things in your life, such as rent, to go up.
Okay, so if the cost of oil is coming down, why are we not seeing a dramatic fall at the pump?
Well, in your case, it's because of taxes. If you have not seen a dramatic fall at the pump, given that Brent crude was about $110 a little over a year ago and it's $35 today, that only puts the exclamation point on what I'm saying about how much taxes are being increased. In fact, I was just in San Francisco 2 weeks ago. It's probably up there with New York as the most expensive city in New York, in large part because that's where all the tech business is. And I looked at the gasoline price, and the gasoline price was literally no different than it was a year ago when the oil price, when the gas price where I live in Colorado was 3 times the price. So yes, that's another way the government causes inflation. Even though the commodity price has fallen, they're increasing your taxes. And you know what they're doing with that money? They're spending it on more social programs that have no productivity. They're spending it on now going to war with ISIS and all kinds of other non-productive things that only cause your ultimate cost of living to go up.
Are you aware that recently in Italy there's been a series of bail-ins? Have you read that at all?
Well, there haven't been many bail-ins. You had the one in Cyprus, which made the news a couple of years ago.
That's
for Cyprus, correct. Cyprus couldn't defend itself because it's so small, and they had to resort to that. The rest of Europe, the ECB has been coming in like crazy now, printing money with its QE and its negative interest rates to prevent the banking system in the rest of Europe from falling apart. But ultimately, the same thing's going to happen because, like the Fed, they can only print so much, and the economy is as bad as it's been in the world in general. So again, you're talking about bail-ins. They are now in the fabric of the Eurozone's policy. It's now a policy of Europe that they can do that, just like it is here in the States and it is in England. So when we have the next crisis and these powers that be, as I call them, lose control, of course they're going to bail you in, which is why would anyone put their money in these banks that are being held up on life support, and you get no interest rates? Soon you're going to get negative interest rates, and you could get bailed in. And on top of that, the ECB is devaluing your money on purpose. And meanwhile, they're holding the price of gold and silver down so you can buy it at historically low levels relative to inflation. So
I think it was in 2012 that the first bail-in the documentation was passed in the British Parliament, and also there's a 10% wealth tax that the European Central Bank is trying to push through. Is there any truth in that?
Well, I'm not sure of all of the policies out there. I do know that after the Cyprus, which I think it was later, I think it was like 2013 or so, after that, all of the major economies of the world, all the central banks and central governors created these policies. So I know for a fact that it's now as the European Commission head said, it's now the template of what will happen in a banking failure in Europe, just as it is now in the United States, and it is in the UK, and it is in Australia, and probably anywhere else where banks eventually are going to succumb to the forces of reality.
Because ultimately, the global economy is based on a debt, okay? And they borrow debt into existence, and eventually there's no more borrowing that can be done, right? Is there any truth in that? We're so heavily indebted, right? But the question is, who are we indebted to? For example, right, when Obama came into when he became president, I think the U.S. national debt was at 9 trillion. Now, 7 years later, it's double that at 18, 19 trillion. So what on earth is going on?
It's called deficits. And fortunately, the United States has the, as we call it, the reserve currency, which simply means it's more widely used and more widely held. So we can print. That's why we were able to do the biggest QE program of anybody, because the dollar can hold better against that kind of money printing than, say, the euro, which has been destroyed by it.
Okay, hang on. Just explain what QE is, please.
QE is quantitative easing. In other words, printing money and buying up bonds with it. The government buys their own bonds. So the biggest holder of treasury bonds, well, the second biggest after China and Japan, is the Fed itself. So the government owns its own bonds. That's what the ECB is doing. They're printing money and buying Spanish, Greek, French bonds. Can you imagine the Greek bond yields have fallen? While Greece is almost in a revolutionary and civil war at the same time. And it will be, by the way, it will default and leave the euro.
Well, hang on. I've been in Greece this year. Okay, yes. I was in Turkey with my family, and from Turkey we caught the boat over to Greece, to one of the islands of Samos, the island of Samos. Okay, and life was fine. The Greek people were happy. Commerce was going on, but what I needed to do is I had to take a substantial amount of cash with me, because the locals were not accepting credit cards or debit cards, and you couldn't withdraw money from the banks. But other than that, life was as per usual. So I understood from the Greek people. So
yeah, that doesn't sound too healthy to me.
No, I agree.
From a commerce perspective, the Greek economy is probably as bad as it's ever been. I mean, look, the Baltic Dry Index, which measures global trading, meaning global shipping activity, I should say, which is the biggest business in Greece, hit an all-time low today, as in 40 years worth of data. And if that's hitting an all-time low, I assure you, the best business in Greece is at an all-time low as well.
Well, that's right, because the Greek shipping business isn't taxed by the government. Okay, that's my understanding of the shipping business in Greece. Right, just explain to people what the Baltic Dry Index is, because this is really important, because it's at an all-time low, isn't it? So just tell people what the Baltic Dry Index is.
Yes, it's a measure. It's been around for 30 years. It combines, it basically measures the cost of shipping cargoes around the world on boats, not shipping in planes and trains, seaborne shipping. And so it's basically measuring the rates of shipping around the world. It hit an all-time low today as we speak, while the Fed is getting ready to raise rates.
Well, that's right. And that means, if it's at an all-time low, doesn't that mean that people are not shipping raw materials that go into factories, and those factories build the stuff that we consume? That's correct, isn't it?
That's right. That's why the commodity index is also at a 40-year low. It's why even the United States, which the Fed likes to talk about how we're recovering, the United States is in a manufacturing recession. That is an objective fact. Our service businesses, which in the most part don't really contribute much, it includes the government, it includes healthcare, it includes fast food. Those businesses are theoretically recovering, but the real business of manufacturing and producing things is in a recession even here, let alone in commodity nations, which is, a big part of the world, all of South America, a lot of Asia, Canada, Australia, you name it. Anyone who produces commodities for a living is shipping nothing. And remember, the biggest importer of those things is China, which is the biggest economic bubble ever, and it's collapsing rapidly as we speak. That's why they're devaluing their currency as we speak.
Right. So you are in the camp that the Chinese are deliberately devaluing their currency. If that's the case, what's the proof behind that, and what does that mean to the global currency?
Oh no, it's not being in the camp. They are. It's their policy. It's like, the ECB says our policy is negative interest rates. The Chinese came out in August and said we are devaluing the currency. But even if they didn't say it, the fact is they are, because the Chinese actually, remember that the Chinese currency is pegged to the US dollar. So every single day the Chinese government sets it at an official rate, which they've been setting lower and lower. Unlike the euro, which the ECB does not set, it trades freely, and the ECB tries to influence it. They too are devaluing by indirectly by purposely devaluing the currency with money printing, with negative interest rates. While the Chinese, because it's a fixed rate currency, are actually setting the rate lower every day.
Okay, this is running on and on at a very exciting pace, okay? But just give us a kind of a picture for the normal man on the street, me, my buddies, families in various countries around the world. What does all this mean to us and our everyday living?
Well, again, the best way of putting it is, I'm sure a lot of your listeners have heard the term the 1% and the 99%. Look, the 1% are the people that benefit from the money, from the free money. That's the banks that get the free money. That's the wealthy investors who have a lot of money in the speculative financial markets that are supported by that money and by the governments themselves. But for the rest of the world, we are suffering. Our cost of living is rising. Unemployment is rising. Our discontent is rising because of all that, and that's why you have all these social tensions. That's why Catalonia wants to secede from Spain, for example. So for us, we have to protect ourselves from trends that are not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse until this whole monetary system eventually falls apart and we replace it with something that central banks can't destroy, and that's going to take some time. So there are a lot of people, by the way, who are in the 99% who don't even know it. I mean, there's only a really very small percentage of people. The people, by the way, who own all those super expensive houses that they're renting out in the fancy parts of Spain and London. They are the people benefiting. For the rest of us, not so much.
Okay. So can we expect commodity prices of food to start rising? Because we're seeing deflation, we're seeing inflation, we're seeing disinflation. It's very difficult to get a clear picture of what truly is happening.
Well, again, every commodity has its own fundamentals. For instance, gold and silver has a cartel that purposely tries to knock the price down. In the case of food, you have droughts, you have all kinds of seasonal factors that play into it. So there's no single way of putting it for what will they do. But I mean, I'm watching what they're doing. Almost every commodity is falling. Here in the States, the prices of rice, corn, wheat, soybeans, beef, they've all plummeted. Even rice, I see. Rice a few years ago was $19 a bushel. It's $11 a bushel, which sounds great if you're buying it, but not if you're a heavily leveraged farmer that's going to go bankrupt, which there are many out there. So I would say on balance that most commodities are oversupplied. Not all, but most. And so it would be very difficult to believe that prices of a material amount of commodities are going to rise anytime soon, other than, in my view, gold and silver, because I think the suppression is going to run its course. And who knows what else? I mean, what if we have a war? Someone bombs Saudi Arabia's oil fields? I mean, you just never know. But for the most part, we're talking about heavy oversupply of not just commodities, but industrial infrastructure the world round.
Well, that's right. And gold and silver, I think silver's around 14, isn't it? And gold is around the 1,000 mark. But it's been a lot lower, hasn't it, Andy? It's been way, way, way down there. So it's not at the bottom of the bottom. And the reason why gold and silver is so important is because it's real money. It's fungible, it retains its wealth, and if, let's say, we do go to war, then gold and silver, precious metals, they will go historically they've gone through the roof. That is correct, isn't it?
Well, look, we're in a bull market here in the States. I'd have to do the adjustment for the euro over there, but here in the States, our bull market in gold started at the turn of the century in around 2001 or so at $250 an ounce, and it went to $19.20 in 2011. That's when the money printing really started going crazy, and yet this cartel, as I say, has taken the price down to $10.75 here. So while yes, it's been lower, but on an inflation-adjusted basis, it was higher probably when it was $300 an ounce 15 years ago than it is today, and that's what I mean by the price suppression, which has caused, not surprisingly, record global demand and falling supply, which is the exact opposite of what you're seeing in all these other markets, which is record supply and falling demand.
That's right. I actually made an inquiry to buy some silver in the middle of this year, and I was told that there was no silver left. So that's bizarre. The price is plummeting, but they've got no silver on. Go on, tell me.
And that's exactly the point. And people don't realize back in 2008, when everything was crashing in late 2008, and the cartel, they smashed gold and silver prices brutally at the same time because they wanted people to think that treasury bonds is the safe haven. we ran out. The whole industry ran out. In fact, the paper price of silver fell to $9 an ounce back in 2008, but you couldn't buy any for less than 18 or 19 an ounce.
Well, that's exactly right. So aren't they? They're shorting the paper precious metals, which and the paper isn't real. It's just a derivative of the real gold or real silver, and they're selling it. Yet the actual physical holding your hands gold bar or silver coin is absolutely scarce. You can't get your hands on it right now.
Again, we had that same thing, as you said, happen this summer. There was a big smash in the price by the cartel, and then in July and August and into September, we almost ran out of silver again. And this wasn't even a crisis time. So, these things happen a lot. And you look at the numbers that show the above ground inventories of gold and silver around the world, and they're plummeting. I mean, there's almost no gold left at the COMEX in the United States. I mean, about $100 million worth. And the same thing for Shanghai, where the numbers are falling rapidly. The GLD ETF has been looted by people taking the real stuff. So again, when you're seeing surging demand and falling inventories and production, you're right. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. And you know what, Andy? Here in Spain, they're shutting down all the gold shops. I'm not certain, but I think there is a political movement to stop buying and selling of gold on the street. Now, I need to do my research on that, to be honest with you, but I think that is the case. Gold and silver.
And that's why you need to buy it. Absolutely. I mean, look at those crazy VAT taxes they charge you in Europe, or the import tariffs they charge in India to get gold and silver in the country, which at the time now is creating a huge black market in India. People just going around it. In many cases, they're buying it anyway. But yeah, a lot of countries are trying to make it difficult for you to buy at all. And that's why we're trying to tell you should be buying it now before you are not allowed to buy it.
That's right. Okay. So, right, here's my question to you. I've got an asset in London. Do I sell that asset and then diversify in areas such as gold and silver? And if I do buy gold and silver, where do I put it, right? Where do I put it? Do I dig a hole in my garden and dig down deep?
Well, look, yeah, they call them midnight gardeners. People do that. Yes. To the first question, that's up to you. I mean, for me, it's the vast majority of my liquid net holdings, meaning outside of my house and physical possessions, is in physical gold and silver, because I believe that they are dramatically undervalued and will be revalued dramatically higher. But it's up to you to decide how much you would want to do with that. I own no stocks or bonds. They're as overvalued as they've ever been in history. But the question of where do you put it? Well, look, for the vast majority of people that own gold and silver, it makes sense to keep it at home. Because even in the worst case scenario, you're not allowed to use it or we want to take it from you. Well, if they don't know you have it, then what's the big deal? But there are some people who it makes sense. Like for me, I'm a high-profile owner because I talk about owning it. We have a storage facility in Canada that we believe very strongly in. It's not a bank, it's Brinks Security, and we have people who are very happy with that. And some other people choose Switzerland or Hong Kong or whatever they think is the safest. I have my own views about all those places. But again, if you're someone who can basically own it enough that people are not going to know about it, and it's only your relatives and close friends know, and you can hide it well, the best place is to put it in your house or buried in your garden or whatever.
Yeah, or stick it in the campo with the burro. So with Janet Yellen coming out a little bit later in about an hour, what's if you're going to hedge your bets, is she or won't she, and what will be the impact of both?
Well, look, the impact of both will be horrible. I mean, if they, I've called the Chinese yuan devaluation the big bang to end all big bangs. It's horrifying, and that's why the commodity indexes have plunged since. But I've also said if the Fed raised rates, it would be equally devastating, which is why, this is exactly what you're seeing now. The currencies around the world are falling dramatically, and countries are soon going to be, a lot of countries, in inflation, even if the commodity prices continue to fall as a result. If they don't raise interest rates, frankly, I think the result could be even more.
It's going to be worse. That's right.
But they will lose. They've spent the whole last month trying to prime us how they're getting ready to do it. So if they, look, as I said, they shouldn't do it. Every metric they've ever used to measure monetary policy is screaming for them to lower rates. But they've pretty much telegraphed we're getting ready to raise rates. So if they didn't do it, you want to shock the world? I can't even imagine the turmoil in financial markets, because the Fed would essentially be admitting, we've been wrong all along. There's really no recovery.
Listen,
so I think they have to.
Well, they have to. You just never know. But I watched the markets a few months back when we had the last announcement, and the markets went ballistic. I think it was in October. The DAX went up, whoa, and then it came smashing down. The German 30. So I imagine we're going to see that kind of volatility again tonight in the markets, are we not?
And that's exactly right. The markets are so addicted to weak, to monetary policy being accommodative, that they fall whenever they don't expect it. And what happened was, it was more September. There was an expectation they may raise rates, and they didn't. So all the markets soared. October, I think everyone knew they weren't, but as soon as October came, they started this whole campaign of getting you ready for December. That's right. When DAX started plummeting again in commodities and currencies, and that's where we stand today on this precipice, because what matters more than what they do today is what they say. And more likely than not, they're going to say, if they raise rates, we're raising rates, but trust us, we are not going to keep doing this. We are going to be watching like a hawk. We're still worried about everything. We just think that we needed to do something. And everyone will go, oh, so you really are getting ready to you are going to stay at low rates forever. That's what people are waiting to hear. So if they either lower rates, which I don't think they'll do, or raise rates and use what they call hawkish talk, meaning say, we're raising rates. We are really, really into this raising rate thing. That's where the volatility is. Frankly, I think the world is expecting them to raise rates a quarter point, but do it so with very, as they say, dovish language. Oh, don't worry, this doesn't mean anything. We are going to be extremely accommodative. Don't worry, stock markets. We promise you we're not going to leave you alone. That's what everyone expects. If they don't do any of that stuff, then you're going to see crazy volatility. And by the way, once all of this sets in a couple of days, a week, and you see the reality start to set in, especially if rates are higher than they were today, you're going to see a continued collapse of commodities and currencies social stability. Yes.
Okay, so if the Fed raises rates, can we expect the Bank of England, the Central Bank of Europe, to follow suit?
Well, not the Central Bank of Europe. They just lowered rates last week.
Well, that's right.
And they're going to be raised to negative 0.3, and they'll, trust me. Look, Europe's got different issues than the United States. One, it's got the whole fact that you have 20 cultures and they have different economies, and many of them are in really bad shape. And then, of course, you have this migrancy crisis going on, so there's a lot of political things going on. So there's no way the European Bank is going to follow suit. And the Bank of England, which likes to talk a big game, has recently been talking about being more like the ECB. Again, they don't want their currency to get too strong either. So I don't think anyone in Europe, and frankly, I don't think any central bank on the planet is even going to dream of raising rates anytime soon. And I think the Fed will be back to zero much quicker than people can imagine.
However, historically, in times of unrest, and we're clearly at war in certain parts of the world, there's no two ways about it, but in times of unrest, to hedge one's bets with investments, it's a fantastic option to look at silver, and it's a fantastic option to look at gold. Okay, so Andy, how can people get in contact with you if A, they want to understand more, and B, they want to reach out and talk business?
Again, Miles Franklin's been around 26 years. It's milesfranklin.com. You can email me at ahoffman@milesfranklin.com. My blog is there every day. There's free stuff there. And again, if you are interested in purchasing gold or silver to be stored overseas, like in our Brinks facility in Montreal, please give us a call, because we think it's the best option out there for a lot of people.
Okay, Andy, that was brilliant. Thank you very, very much for your time. I know we've come to the end of the hour that we had with you, and I want to wish you well, sir, and have a happy, happy Christmas.
And the same to you and your listeners.
Cheers, buddy. Okay, ciao, adios. Wow, that was great. Andy Hoffman, Miles Franklin.
It's the sound of the beat. Give it to me. Yeah.
The beat.
Hello, I'm Ellie Golding.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Tiny Temper.
I'm Nicki Minaj.
Yo, what's up? It's Will I Am.
The beat.
Is that it? I think so. This is The Beat.
Great band, the Beatles. Great band. That was the Taxman, and this is Luke Skywalker. You know, the latest Star Wars film is out. Gonna go and see it with my family on Sunday. I can't wait. I love Star Wars.
I'm not afraid.
You will be.
That's right, you will be.
You will be.
You will be. This is Who Got All the Money.
We also know
By
that
Herschel.
unknowns. That is to say,
36.
we know there's some things we do not know. You don't know, they don't care. Not paid enough to spend your time out there. Go outside, have a party, get high. The world will end when the sun don't rise. You got, I got, we got nothing. Who got all the money? You got me, my love for you is free, but you got all. There are also unknowns, the ones we don't know. Unknown to you, they stole your view. Don't show the dark side of the moon. Place an RFID chip in your forehead and your wrist. Gonna make you so sure. You got, I got, we got nothing. You got all the money.
There's no evidence of a direct
You
link.
got me, my love for you is free, but who got all the money?
Terrorist organization.
You got, I got, we got nothing. Who got all the money? I got you, yeah, this is true, but who got all the money?
Is this an unknown unknown?
Fiscal year 1999, 2.3 trillion missing. Fiscal year 2000, 1.1 trillion missing.
$1 trillion.
Mr. Secretary, is it policy of the U.S. government to reward companies that traffic in women and little girls? Women and little girls.
You don't care that they all know nothing outside but a TV show. RFID chip in your forehead and your wrist.
Evidence of a direct link between Baghdad and some of these terrorist organizations.
We got nothing. I got you, yeah, this is true.
Is this an unknown unknown?
Fiscal year 2000, 1.1 trillion missing.
I'm a trader. $1 trillion. I go to bed every night and dream of another recession. It's an opportunity. $1 trillion. This economic crisis looks like a cancer. The governments don't rule the world. Goldman Sachs rules the world.
We got nothing.
There are also
Unknowns, the ones we don't know, we don't know.
Excuse me, but is this an unknown unknown?
Just seems like I was here yesterday. I was.
This is The Beat. More people switch to The Beat every single day.
The Beat.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. It fooled me, we can't get fooled again.
Herschel 36 on the beat, arguably the best radio station on the Costa del Sol. Plays the best music and does all the challenging stuff like look at the economy. But here we are, people. I'm very happy to be on the beat. I must say I'm having a great time, so I just want to thank the girls for allowing me to do this, and also to my sponsor justfinisheditrecords.co.uk for supporting me and letting me make some music. Now, it's been an interesting conversation with Andy Hoffman from Mars Franklin in the US, and there are some very interesting things that are taking place, and of course truth is stranger than fiction. So earlier this week there was notification that we had bail-ins in Italy. There's all sorts of shenanigans taking place in Greece, Cyprus, Austria, bail-ins, and there is a 10% wealth tax that's being documented through the courts. So it's quite clear that people are, our money, our wealth is under attack, whether it be through inflation or whether it be through bail-ins or bail-outs. Now, the bail-outs happened in 2008. Close to $750 billion was printed by the Federal Reserve and given out to their buddies. The base rate, well, it's likely to go up 25 points this evening. Janet Yellen, who heads up the cronies, the bankers. I mean, I've never seen a terrorist, but I have seen a banker. I've seen lots of them. My brother, God bless his soul, he owns a hedge fund. He is a banker, and I haven't seen any money out of his pocket for many years. But that's by the by. The UK housing market is absolutely booming, and it feels like we are in a recovery, right? But are we? I don't know. I really don't know. But it's very, very interesting times that we live in, and I'm just pleased that I've got two beautiful kids and I have a great life, and some really, really good friends. But more importantly than all of that, I'm on the beat, and you are listening to the beat. So a big well done to Glenn. 3-2-1 for winning that competition today. You've got Beat Boy in the morning, followed by Chris Carl in the afternoon. The Beat is arguably the best radio station on the coast, and this is truth is stranger than fiction. Loving it.
Music sounds better. On the station. The Beat.
I felt a great disturbance in the force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
Welcome to
The Beat.
We are back in Herschel 36. That's right, don't forget, people, that Star Wars is out there and it's happening right now. I'm going to take my son and my daughter to go and watch it on Sunday. There's a 5:50 showing in 3D in English. So I'm going to go and watch that at the Miramar Centre. Can't wait. Actually, it's my son's 15th birthday. I can't believe my son is 15. That means that I am now officially very, very, very old. Now I'm 43. So my life is just beginning. I'm a beautiful 43-year-old man, and I'm loving living on the Costa del Sol, and I'm loving it on the beach. Just a big well done to Glenn, number 321, for winning the prize, which was 4 tickets to the Salon Varieties show Mother Goose. Well done. There is another draw tomorrow, so do not miss Beat Boys show first thing in the morning from 8 to 12, and then the draw will be made in the afternoon by the wonderful Chris Carl. Okay, so if you want to get in contact with Herschel 36, you can do that via Facebook. Okay, Herschel 36 on the beat. Stick that into Facebook and you will get the Herschel 36 Beat Facebook page. You can tell me what you're thinking, what you're not thinking, what you're liking, what you're not liking. You can do whatever you want, because this is all about you. We are having over 2,000 listeners a day, which is 100,000 listeners in a month. So we want to just thank you for supporting the radio station. And if you want to get in direct contact with me, you can via Skype at The Beat Radio Herschel36. Stick that into Skype contacts and you will find me, and you can get in direct contact if you've got anything to say about some of the topics that I am bringing up, because they are quite challenging. And to spell Herschel, it's Herschel, Herschel36. Herschel36 is a star in the Lagoon Nebula, and also Herschel is a Jewish name. Anyway, I'm really enjoying my night tonight. It's great. I love Wednesday nights because I get to be with you on the beat on the Costa del Sol, and it rocks. Absolutely rocks.
Across the coast.
The beat.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
Broadcasting now 24/7 on the Costa del Sol.
This is The Beat.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet. Ain't that the truth, brother? Even at 43, I am still learning how to tie my shoelaces some days. But I love it, and I love being on the beat. It's the only place to be in the Costa del Sol. Okay, so coming up on Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. I've been doing a few shows here, and I've been feeling my way, and I tell you, sometimes I'm tripping over and just finding the right faders to push up and down, and here we are. I'm in the studio, it's happening, it is real, this is live radio, and that's what I love about the beat, okay? We take risks here and we make it happen. So if you want to get in contact with Herschel36, that's me, you can go into Facebook and type in Herschel36 on the beat and you will find me there. Please notify me what it is you want to talk about. Or if you want to get in contact with me via Skype, you can on the Beat Radio Herschel36. Okay, now again, I want to say a big well done to Glenn, number 321, who won the prize today, which is 4 tickets to watch Mother Goose at Salon Varieties. Wow, I wonder what the prize is going to be tomorrow. I'm really, really excited. Now, I am also working with Mel and Rad, Janice Grant, Audrey Sperring, and Nami, and Joy Fahy. Now, Joy, where were you yesterday? I know you're not very well, but please get better soon. And we are a group in Malaga Business Minds Mastermind group, and it's really exciting. There's some fantastic things going on. Audrey Sperring has a water appliance that she is selling to everyone along the coast. It's going ballistic. And Janice Grant has this incredible product that I just cannot talk about, right? Because it's too great to even go there, and I wouldn't even bother. But it's a fantastic product. So I just want to say a big hi to all of you guys, and a thanks to Nami for supporting us and seeing us through these early stages of that mastermind group. My thing is to get Herschel36 off the ground, and I couldn't do it without you guys, and I couldn't do it without the beat, because the beat is the fastest growing radio station on the coast. It's a very, very exciting time to be alive. Even if Janet Yellen does raise the base rate by 25 points, you know, we still got the beat.
It's the beat again.
This is the sound of the beat. Give it to me, give it to me. Yeah.
I think tide turning, as I remember, I was raised in the desert, but tides kind of it's easy to see a tide turn. Did I say those words?
I love that, man.
This is the beat.
It is the beat. This is the beat. That was George W. Bush. And yes, George, you did say those words. And before that was John Lennon. And war is over. Well, it could be. I mean, it really could be, if we said to the elite that we weren't going to go to war, they wouldn't go to war. They couldn't go to war. That's the thing, right? They need our agreement to go to war. So we just need to take responsibility for what we do and what we don't do, because we voted these guys into power. So war is over. I wish it would be, man. I really wish it would be, because Christmas is coming, and let's not forget that. And Christmas is a beautiful time, and I'm heading off to Dublin with my family. We're going to go and head to Dublin. My mother, God rest her soul, she was Irish, and I'm going to go and spend Christmas with my Irish family in County Kildare, in a village called Clane, where basically every other house has my extended family in it. So we're going to be pretty busy during that period. And Jacob and Eloise, my son and my daughter, are very, very excited. Now, as I say, I've got one more show in 2016, and that's next week, and I'm going to talk about that in a few seconds. But next year, assuming that Beat Boy doesn't have me executed from now till then, I have got the likes of, I've got some local people coming on. It's important that we get local people on this show talking about local life. So I have got the absolutely fantastic Lisa Tony Flannery from Social Butterfly Networking Group coming on to talk about who she knows, what's going on, and all the gossip on the coast. And I just want to say a big thank you to people like Ole Damigard and Joel Skousen for coming on earlier in the early stages of this show. And hopefully next year we'll have Zen Gardner on the show. And early in January we've got Matrix Decode and Wakey coming on, and they're doing a comedy act, and that's going to be really, really interesting. But next week, okay, if you think that this show's a little bit wacky, it's going to get really, really wacky. I've got a gentleman called Crow777. That's CRROW777, and Crow's going to be talking about the moon. He's been studying the moon and filming the moon for many, many years, and I'm going to be putting some real-time footage of the moon and the lunar wave that goes over the moon up on my Facebook account, and we are going to be talking about the moon, or what it is, what it isn't, and all the conspiracy around this planet Earth. Now coming up, we got Hard Fi and Cash Machine. What a track!
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
So this is me, Herschel36, checking out for another Wednesday night. It's been fun. Every time I get on this microphone, I learn a little bit more, and I hope you do. This last track, and listen, happy Christmas, everybody. I forgot to say that. This last track is called Starstruck. Hope you like it.
They say the writing's on the wall. I teach my children to think big rather than small. They say that nothing can be done. I'd rather learn to walk and walk so later I can run. Almost didn't make it. Years I lost my way. Almost didn't make it to this place at this time. Lost my love, found my life. I like to strike a match in you, light up the universe so you can see the view. How can you say that this is wrong? As you were born to live and live the way that you were born. Almost didn't make it. Years I lost my way. Almost didn't make it to this place at this time. Lost my love, found my life. starstruck and dazed when I got cold drunk. And now I'm sober for many reasons that I just won't illuminate. Oh yeah, I'm starstruck and dazed when I got cold drunk. Imagine nothing can be done. 10,000 angels crying topple one by one. I do believe that there is hope. We'll find the love we'll need, we'll finance life so we can cope. Almost didn't make it. Years I lost my way. Almost didn't make it to this place at this time. Lost my love, found my life. Almost didn't make it. Years I lost my way. Almost didn't make it to this place at this time. Lost my love, found my life. When it